Yes, sir.
All right, so hi everyone. So today we are going to continue with CSS. The last time we stopped at CSS properties, and we are going to continue with CSS inspection. So inspection is about how do you debug your code. So there will be a lot of times that you write CSS to you add CSS to your code, and you have some expectations on what should happen to your view, to your web view, but those things are not happening. Now, how do you debug what is going on with your code? Debug means how do you diagnose your code? One of the ways to do that, apart from looking into the code again and then try to see if you made any mistake somewhere, if something was not properly done, is to inspect your CSS in the browser. So every code you write in your VS Code, the moment you preview them on your browser, the browser takes all the code and use them to render what you see in the view. And because the browser has access to your code, you can actually do a lot of inspections with the browser version of your code. And how do you do that? By running an inspection on that browser. Now, the way this thing is built into different browsers are different. One of the browsers that gives us a very good view of this is the Chrome, and that's why we are using Chrome for this class. So Google Chrome has some predefined or predetermined structures through which you can debug your code, look at the CSS, look at the HTML, even JavaScript if you want to. And that's what we'll be looking at today. So this is a structure, this is how a Google Chrome looks like. And when you try to inspect a Google Chrome, you will see something like this and some other stuff. Now, let's take a dive into Google Chrome and inspect some sites. So I'm going to go to a particular site. Let me see if I can find that site. Okay, no, I can look for it here. Where is it? No. I have to look for the site. I'm sorry, guys. This one. Okay, and the other one. All right. So this is a particular site that is built with HTML and CSS and is deployed on GitHub like we did before. So right now, this site, what you're seeing right now is just the HTML code that generated this. Now there's a CSS that was already added to this site, but we added it in a way of toggle. So if I kind of add the CSS, this is the same site. So right now you can see my website and the other thing, and you can see color backgrounds and all that. You can see a button, which initially was showing like an ordinary button without styling like this. And when the CSS gets added, it looks like this. Now, let's say at some point you were trying to achieve this in your code, but you were not able to get some things right because something is wrong and you want to kind of debug that. What's going on with my code? Now, what you need to do, and I want everybody to watch me right now because you're going to try this on your own. So what you need to do, there are different ways to debug or to inspect your site. So let's say we want to inspect this site right now. One of the easiest way, or that I use very well, is I'll right click on that site or right click on a particular element on that site. You all know that this is an element. This might be an H1 element, I suppose. These are also elements that were in form of a list. So each of them, you can right click on any of these to inspect that particular element. Now, either you right click on any of the elements on the site, or you just right click on anywhere on that site to inspect everything. So if I right click anywhere on this site, and I click on inspect. Now you see something open up like this. This is your the place where you inspect your code. So you will be able to kind of see everything on this site, what is the CSS added to those sites, and you can change things to just try things out on yourself, on your own, to be able to debug. So let's try something like that. So right now, let's say I want to check the CSS styling on this toggle button. So this is a button, and it has a text on it, toggle CSS. Now, if I click on this arrow on the top right corner here and select that button, you can see that there's a changes here. It kind of highlights that button to us. And if I click on that button, you will see it shows that there's a button and the CSS on that button. So everything that was defined, or every CSS properties that was defined on that button are here. So if there is something wrong with your code, you will be able to inspect here because you can toy around, you can play around with it, you can change some things to see how it works, which we're going to do now. So right now, this, you can see that there are two buttons here. So there is one that comes from style.css. If you look at what is showing up here, maybe I need to blow this up for you guys to see. So every property you see here on this button comes from style.css, which is a file that we wrote the CSS for this particular code. Now there's another button down here that comes from user agent style sheet. Now what this means is that this is not a code that anybody wrote. These are actually CSS, default CSS properties. So one thing I want you guys to know is that even though you did not start, even if you write an ordinary HTML code without adding CSS, by default, there's a style for those code by default that comes from default setting of those of the HTML templates, right? So you did not define them, but they are actually there. Now, when you define your own style, they override whatever the default appearance is. And that's why you see two different sections. Both are buttons, which is the same button, but these are all default CSS styles that were with the button. And these are the ones that we set on this. Now, you can play around with this. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to inspect, maybe the background was not coming as I want it. I can actually uncheck this to remove the background. And we see when I unchecked it, it removed the background for that button. Then I'll see that, okay, it's working. Maybe it was not working before. And the moment I unchecked it, you can see it crosses out this. Now, I can also do the same for any other one. I can keep unchecking. When I uncheck the border, it removes the border. When I uncheck the border radius, it makes the edges to be square. And if I return the border radius, you can see that it gives that curvy border radius again, or curvy border again. So a lot of things can be done here to be able to visualize what is going on with your code and how things are working. I can also change something here. So the text alignment here is center. I can change it to right. And if I do that, it should move the text to the right. Probably there's another property that is setting up here. Normally it will move to the right because I think it's because it's display. It's set to block. So you can see that it crosses out this. If I take out the, what do I want to take out? Text align, both of them. Okay, I'm not seeing that happen, maybe because it needs to be refreshed. And one thing you need to note is that when you refresh, whatever changes you have made in the browser, it takes them out. So right now, because it goes back to default, there is no style. The moment I put back the style, it brings everything that was set on that style again. So I can change the color. Let's say I want to change this color, the text color to blue. And you can see it changed to blue immediately. So a lot of debugging can be done here. And you can add extra style if you want to. Let's say you're just debugging, but know that whatever you add here does not get added to your code. It's only here temporarily, just for you to see how things are working here. The moment you close this out and you refresh, every changes you make here is gone. So it's never going to be part of your code. You need to know that. You can also change text. We did that before. You can change the text that is showing on here. You can change the property of that text. So if I click on this arrow and select my website, it shows that it's an H1 header and it has a margin of 0. At the same time, it has a display of block, font size. So there's a lot of properties that is set here. You can adjust any of this just for you to see things. I can change the color of that text. I can do a whole lot of things. You can see that color is white right now, FFF. I can change it to 000, and that will be black. So a lot of things can be done here temporarily to be able to inspect your work. Now, you would appreciate this more when you have a very terrible code that you've written and something is just not working and you're not able to figure it out on your code. This is going to be a good place to come because you will be able to see things live as you're changing them. And then you will be able to know if something is crossed out. So sometimes some of the properties you set might have been crossed out because something else overwrote it, right? Something else, you've set something else somewhere that's overridden what you did before and you did not know. But when you inspect them here, you will see that something is crossed out. Then you will know that, oh, it looks like something is overridden. Then you can actually adjust it and know what you can do to your code to make it work better. Now, so right now, if I want to check, for example, what is the font size of this home that I'm seeing here? All I need to do is either click on this arrow and then click on that home, and I can check home. So first, it's wrapped in a navigator because it's a link, and then it's a list element, and there is list style is none. I'm looking for that home, right? So the font style is Arial Sans Serif. You can see how easy it is for me to locate that. And if I want to check the font size as well, I can check that. So first, the color is white. So you can see that nav A, because this is a navigation, and that's why it's showing as nav A. A is a link, if you remember, when you write your CSS code. So it has a color of white. Cursor is pointer. What is cursor pointer? It is that when you hover your mouse on any text, you can see that sometimes it changes from arrow to a pointed hand. That's a cursor. That's a pointer actually. So when you hover and set it to pointer, it will change to a hand so that it shows that that is a link. That's a kind of convention when you build your site to know that something is a link. When you hover on it, most of the time it changes to a hand. And so here is the list. This is home, and that's what we are inspecting. So it has a color of white. It's a list element. It has no list style. What else can we see here? It belongs to the Arial Sans Serif. Okay, let's inspect something else. Let's inspect this welcome to my website. So you can see it's highlighted here, and it has a lot of properties. It's an H2 element. It has a display style of block. Font size is 1.5 EM. You remember what an EM is when you are relating the size of that element to the parent element. So that's an EM. So this H2 is related to the size of the body because right now it is embedded in the body. You may not see the code right now, but yeah, okay, yeah, you can see it here. So it belongs to the main element. So it is going to be 1.5 times the size of the main element. And then the margin block start is this. So a lot of properties are set there. Font weight is bold. So I can change this to normal. No, I did not change. Come on. Was it fixed? Let's see. So I can change that font size to normal. Just to playing around. Okay, this is not, I think this one is fixed. Let's change something else. Can this change? Yeah. Okay, so you can see when I remove this text align center, everything goes to the right. If I return it, it goes back to the center. So a lot of things so you can inspect your site and see a lot of information on there. Now, I'm going to send you guys this site. I want you to spend 2 to 5 minutes to play around with it. And there's one exercise you guys are all going to do for me, which is this exercise. You're all going to inspect this site and answer some questions here. But before you do that, let's try something out. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me before you do that exercise. So I'm going to send you guys this site on Slack. Where is it? On the general section or the general channel, I just posted the CSS, I mean the web link. So I want you all to open that and let me know once you have it opened on your screen.
It's open.
Open. Okay, so if it's opened, you're going to follow me right now. You all are going to right click on that page. So right click on that page and click on the inspect. Sometimes if you're opening that for the first time, you may not see these two sections. You may only see one section if it's not big enough. Maybe this is what you see. What you just need to do is to drag it. So move your mouse to the edge of this and drag it further, expand it. Then you will see the other one shows up. And make sure this tab is on styles because we're actually looking at styles today. So this is going to be on elements and the other one will be on styles.
Okay.
Is everybody on that page right now? Or you need some time?
I'm on.
Okay. Is anybody having issues with that right now? I know some people don't have their Slack open, so make sure
So
you
mute your mic now.
Are people sleeping in this class today?
I don't know.
No, we are there now.
Open
We are there.
We have it on.
You have to be verbally
No, there's no way I can know that. I can't see your faces. I can't hear anything. It's hard to know where you are, right? So that I won't just be jumping like a Oga, you know? Okay. So if you are here, I want you all to inspect each of the elements. So what you're going to do is to look at the top right corner here. There's this arrow that shows up here. Click on that arrow and select any of these elements. Click on them. Once you click on them, it gets highlighted here. Then you can inspect all the properties here. You can make some changes and see them change here, just to kind of get the feel of how your changes here affect the website. That's something you need to kind of hone. It's a skill you need to hone, how to inspect your code in the browser. So let's try to do that. Inspect at least 5 elements here if you can. Let's do that within 5 minutes, guys. And ask questions if something is not working as what you expect.
Sorry, sir.
Oh.
Hello, sir.
Go on.
Yeah. Your home page is dark. Is it that's your own system or you are doing it on VS Code? Which one?
Yes. My system is set to dark by default.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
This is not Windows or Mac work.
What?
Is Mr. J is Mr. Harry or what is asking if your system is default or
Already it's hard to hear you. I don't know where you are, that you're sounding like you are in a 1963 radio. Yeah, so I can change my mode to look like yours, but I prefer the dark mode because of my eyesight. So do some inspections and then ask questions if something is not right or if you feel something is not right. And if you think you are done, you've inspected enough, we are going to be doing this exercise that I'm posting here in the class exercise channel. Let me know if you're done inspecting, then I can explain what you need to do in this exercise to you.
There's a lot of things I'm seeing on the website that text, things like text align, WebKit, match parent, for the home.
Yeah, the home navigation, yes. So yes, that's very true. There are a lot of things that you will see here that you'll be wondering, how do I know when to set this? So like this one, we haven't touched this. This is one of the things you are going to learn on your own when you try to Google, maybe you want to achieve something and you didn't get it, and then you go on Google, you see a lot of things that you can add, and then you can read more about it. But for now, what this does is that it takes any browser, regardless of the browser the user is using. It takes the WebKit is a package that comes with every browser, and then it matches that item to the parent. So it's a list item. The alignment of that list item is to align exactly the way the parent has been aligned. Now, how has the parent been aligned? The parent would have been aligned to the center. So it just matches the parent. That's what this means in simple terms. So, but you don't have to be bothered about this right now, because this is going to be an advanced CSS, to be honest. You don't have to know how to set WebKit properties right now. It's not part of the things you are learning as a beginner. This is part of the things that comes as you continue in the web development journey that you get to learn. There are advanced types. You can see another one here, color WebKit link. You don't need to be bothered about this, because this is not something you should know right now.
Yeah, and those
yeah.
navigations on the left too, like nav.
Yeah, so nav is just is a tag that was set on that property. Maybe I should touch that right now. So when you build your websites and you're going to have a navigation in your website, navigation means you're going to have a tab list where you can click on different items to take you to a different part of the page, like you've always seen in most websites. So that's called navigation. Now there's a tag called nav. So it's just the same way you write every other tags. Like when you want to write an H1 tag, you want to write an H2 tag, a P tag, an image tag, the same way. The tag is called nav. Yeah.
Is this in any way similar to like a href where you link like
no, so it's similar to like let me show you what it looks like. Where's my so let's say let me open today's work desktop coding tutorial. So let's say you want to add like a navigation on this particular page. So the way the nav thing is used, I'm going to make this bigger. So the way the nav thing is used is like this. So you write your nav, you close the tag, and then you can add anything inside. So right now, if I want to add a link, because it's usually used with a link. Let's say you want to have a navigation system that when you click on one item, it takes you to another page. Normally, we wrap that in an A tag. So you have an A tag, and then you can have whatever you want to add inside. So let's just say this is a link. And you can have your href to be whatever you want to have it as. Let's say something else, maybe ./go.png. Yeah. Now, when you preview this, you're going to see this is a link. So you see the text that we have inside there is what you see, but then it only shows. So what this nav shows is that although it's not visible to the eyes, but it tells the browser, hey, I'm trying to put some navigation in here. So I can have another one. I can have another nav. This is another link.
If you want to put it on like side by side.
Well, we've done that before, haven't we? I thought we have. Did we?
I think we did a list.
So you can have it as a list. And there's something called flex, which we have not done. So I would skip that until we get to flex. You can flex them to be on the same row. You can flex things to be on the same column. You can flex things as you like. You can move these things around as you want using flex. There are other things like display. You can use display to move them around, which we are going to be treating in the future. But yeah, right now, just take it like it is right now, so that we don't start jumping the gun.
Right.
So yeah, so this is what it's used for. It's just telling the browser that, hey, I have some navigations here, and this is how I want them to behave. Normally, it shouldn't be two navs. Actually, this is wrong. So each of the navigations should be inside one single nav element. So I'll take this out. So it goes after this one. Right? So I can have a break, I can have a break, I can separate them somehow so that they don't look joined together like this. I can add a div in between them just to separate them and all that. So, but yeah, this is how the navigation thing works. So once you add it inside the nav, it tells the browser that, hey, I have a navigation list of items here. It's just to go to a different page or a different screen. Okay.
Right. Just a quick, I don't know, question.
Yeah.
I know in the projects that we did before, we just used the anchor tags
Mhm.
and we were able to navigate to a separate page anyway.
Mhm.
So is this like a best practice thing, or is there something different that the nav adds than just, having just the anchor in the first
Okay.
place?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what you did at that time was not a navigation. It was just a link to go to another site. So let me show you what the navigation looks like in the real sense. Let me use my website. I think I have a navigation on my website. This is navigation. So when you see list of items like this, these are navigation links. The other one you did before was just a link somewhere. There could be any other link in another place. So there's a link, there are other links here that you can click and it takes you to somewhere else, right? But those are not navigation. The real navigation system in a website is the ones you see on top of the site in the nav panel. So there's something called navigation panel in some website. Not every website would have it, but in some website you have a navigation panel, which makes it easy for users to navigate into different sections of that site. Sometimes you find it on top and at the bottom. Maybe by the time you scroll to bottom, like this one is fixed to top. Sometimes because it scrolls with the page, you can see it show up in the bottom as well, so that you can still find it instead of scrolling back up to go and look for it. You can still find it at the bottom to be able to navigate to any other page that you want. So this is a typical navigation. It's just a way to show people different sections of your website. So there's a home page, which we are right now. There's an about page. So it scrolls to that about when I clicked it. There's a work page. It's close to my works. There's a skills page. It's close to that. There's a testimonial page and it goes to that, and then contact, it goes to that. Now, it may not work like this for every other website. Sometimes when you click them, it opens a different page entirely. It depends on what the builder wants. It depends on what you want yourself. For this one, is just to scroll to the separate pages for the user instead of them to have to scroll and be looking for where is the home, or where is the skills, or where is the testimonial. You can just go here and click. So this is a typical navigation. And that's what we see on that website, this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other question, guys? So if there are no other questions, I want you guys to open the link I sent that I dropped in class exercises. And when you open that, you would find this. So just to show up, and if you have this open, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Is it the same link?
No, I posted the link in class exercises.
Okay.
Do we have this open, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, if we do have this open, I want you all to look at the questions first. So these questions are from what you're going to see when you inspect this site. I would want you to look at the body elements when you inspect. I'm going to show you now. Look at and get me the color of the body from the CSS defined on the body element, and then put the color here and submit. If it's correct, it will tell you that it is correct. If it's not correct, then you can try again and look again and see. Don't just guess. Make sure you are able to grab it. The same way for the H1 element and get me the font size as defined on the CSS class. So what you do is you inspect, you right click on that on the page and click on inspect. So when you do that, like we did on the other one, you will just pick this you don't have to actually. What you can do again is, this is the body. You can expand everything you see here and look for the H1 or whatever the question says you should look for. So this is the entire code in that particular file. And the first question says, what is the named color of the body? What that means is that you're looking for the body. This is the body. And when I click on the body, you can see that it opens the style. And then you can see here, you can get the color of that body from this CSS. So every element that you want to inspect, you have to click on that element. The second question says, what is the font size of the H1? Sorry, you can interrupt me if you want to ask questions. I'm not able to grab. I can't see if somebody is raising up, and yeah. So font size of the H1. You need to look for the H1 element here. I'm sure it's somewhere. This is the H1 element. Click on the H1, and then the CSS opens here. You can grab the font size here. The third question says, what is the font weight of the H2? So you need to look for the H2. This is the H2. If you click on the H2, it opens up H2. Now you can grab the font weight of that H2. What is the font family of the P, the paragraph? This is the paragraph element. If I click on the paragraph element, you can see the font family from the CSS defined. So guys, take the next 3 to 5 minutes and answer these questions. Submit each of them once you type in the answers, and be sure it is correct before you move to the next one. 5 minutes, guys. Okay, let's solve these things together. If you've gotten it right, that's perfect. If you're still working on it, let's just do it together so that we can move on to the next thing, right? So, yeah. So I'll start with the first one. What is the named color of the body? So what I would definitely do, I'm gonna close this and open it again so that it appears on the side. Unfortunately, it doesn't want to. I can bring it to the side. Where is that icon? Yeah. Well, okay. That's not what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Wait, Latan.
Yeah.
So the site we are inspecting is this site here, Abby?
Yep.
What?
The site we were inspecting was this one, right? You inspect me, Abby?
Yeah, this is the one.
I was inspecting the other page.
Yeah, but
Same thing happened to me, I do.
No, we're going wrong.
Because you guys are not listening to me. I said I dropped the link on the class exercise.
So I have both of them open, right?
I thought we
were supposed to
inspect that and put it here.
I'm post the answer. Yeah, so that's where
I short small.
So it's the same site, and I did it here, right here. I opened this one and I was showing you guys here. Yeah. So what is the name color of the body? So this is the body. This is the body, and you can find the body here. The background color is Alice blue. You just copy Alice blue and put it here. Submit. It's correct. What is the font size of the H1? So I can look for the H1. This is the H1. The font size is 3 REM. I'll just copy and put 3 REM here and submit. That's correct. Font weight of the H2. So I'll look for the H2. I'll grab the font weight, which is 500. I'll just put it right there. Submit. What is the font family of the P? This is the P. And I can grab the P. Font family is, where is it? So the font.
Down.
I've gone down. Oh, it is the ice. So I can paste it here and it's correct. That's it. So yeah, I just want you guys to do this to be able to understand how we inspect things and how your code gets transferred into the browser. Yeah, that's basically what this is about. So let's continue on CSS properties and all that. So the next thing we're going to be looking at right now is called the box model. So the box model, this is when you need to bring in a little bit of mathematics, addition and subtraction thing, because you're going to need that as well. It's not a typical mathematics thing. Maybe let me call it arithmetic. Yeah, just add things together and subtract things together. Now, how do we use this in our CSS? So the box model is a technique, or it's a kind of concept through which your text or your objects, your items get rendered in the website, in the web page. Now, by default, any text and every text you write on the website, they have something called padding. They may or may not have borders, and they will definitely have margin, which are set by default. But then you yourself can actually you can define these things. You can define the margin, you can define the padding, and you can define the border. Depends on how you want your items to look like or your elements to look like on the page. Now, how does this box model work? It's simple. It's actually based on the fact that you can set these three properties, the margin, the padding, and the border, on any and every element in your website, depending on how you want it to look. So for example, let's say you have an element of size 794 by 160. You don't have to bother about the size. Let's just look at an arbitrary size right now. That element is going to have some padding, and the padding will be the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. And that is the order. I'm going to repeat that order again. The top, the right, the bottom, and the left. That's the order through which or by which we define the padding when we are defining that padding. Now let's look at this in detail. Now let's say you have a box that is blue in the background, and you want to set a border on that box. So that border, to set that border, you want to set a solid border and black. You are going to set first, this is going to be the thickness of that border. So the first thing you define here is going to be the thickness. It's going to be the thickness. You can specify that in a simple format, which is pixel. The next one is going to be, what is the style of that border? Is it going to be solid or broken lines or whatever? There are lots of them. So this is where you specify that. And the last thing is going to be the color of that border. So you all would have seen a lot of some items in some websites that looks very nice. You may not have noticed, but if you look again, you will see that there are borders, there are other things that are going together on those elements. So anyone that involves border, this is how we define border in a CSS. So you have to define the property border. You have to define the property called border, and then you specify three things on that border: the thickness, the style, and the color of the border. And as you can see, that is the border you're seeing here. So right now we're only concerned about the border. We're not talking about the background color of this element. The element is already there. We just want to add a border, a black solid 10 pixel border on that element. Okay. Now, going forward, you can actually, again, specify a different thickness. Let's say you specify 30 pixel, still solid and black. This is what you're going to see. Okay. So before it was 10 pixel, you can see how thin it looks. And then when you change that to 30 pixel, you can see how thick it looks. So this would be needed in so many times when you're trying to style something, a box, an object, or anything, and you want to determine the thickness. This is how you specify the thickness. If you change it to 50, it goes bigger again, right? Now, there's something you guys need to notice here. When it goes bigger, it doesn't go bigger outside of the box. What I'm trying to say is that, so let's say this is the size of the box originally. When you add border, it does not increase the size of this box. Rather, the border goes thicker inside of the box. So let's say you change this border to, let's say 100 pixel, you will see something like this getting occupied. So the whole of this place, so you see something like this, and you see that the whole of this place would be black if you change it to, let's say 100 pixel, for example. So you need to note that adding borders does not increase the size of an element. The size will remain the same. The border will only go thicker inside. And when you reduce the size of the border, it comes back to the original size. So yeah, so this is what is called border or CSS border in our element. Now, there are other things you can do. So right now we specify, when you say 30 pixels solid black, it adds border to the four sides of the box. Now you can actually specify how many sides you want to add that border into. Now, how do you do that? So for example, we already defined our border to have 30 pixels solid black, and doing that would add the border into the entire element. Now, if you define again on another line, border top to be 0, what you're saying is that, hey, although I want border of 30 pixels solid black, but on the top or at the top, I want no border. Then you can decide border top, or you can define border top 0 pixel. And you can see this is what you get. So it removes the top border, and every other 3 sides have a border. Okay, so again, when you define a border, you can add some more code to adjust how and where that border is displayed. Now, I can also say, okay, although I have 30 pixels solid black border all around the box, but I want to make some adjustments on the width of the border. So I'll say border width 0, 10, 20, 30. Now, remember when I said that there is an order. So the order is top, right, bottom, and left. So you're saying that at the top, I want 0, no border. On the right, I want 10 pixels. At the bottom, I want 20. And on the left, I want 30. And you can see that there are differences in the thickness of those borders.
Okay, it's so yeah. The order in arranging, does it always go clockwise?
Yes, that's what I said. That is the order. The order is clockwise from the top. Top, right, bottom, left. That is how you must define it. If you did not take care of that, you might see something looking different from what you thought. Probably because in your mind, you're thinking of a different order, but the order that the browser would use is the predefined order, and that is clockwise. Top, right, bottom, left. You cannot say, although you want to go clockwise, you will now start from the bottom. No, it must start from the top. So the first value here, the browser reads it as the top. It reads the second value as the right, the third as the bottom, and the last one as the left. Okay? Any other questions on border? All right. So that's how to add border to your websites, to your HTML elements, actually. So that's the CSS border. You would need it when the time comes. And remember that this is how you can define it, and you can also adjust it based on the elements. I'm going to send you guys a link towards the end of this class where you can read further about these things. Okay? Now let's go on. Now we are going to talk about padding. So let's say we have an element like this. Now this is like a div element. I'll tell you what a div element is later when we get there. So it's like a box. Let's call it a box for now. So inside that box, we have text. Hello world repeated on multiple times. And it's so choked into the box. The box has a border, which has been defined. We don't really care about the size of the border right now. Now, if you're looking at this in the real sense on a website, it looks really horrible. Why? Because we are not allowing those texts to breathe. We need to allow those texts to breathe, just like we allowed Nigerians, the poor Nigerians, to breathe. Now, how do we allow this text to breathe? By adding what is called padding. It's not like we are padding a budget right here. We are not padding budget. We are only padding this text to have some breathing space. So when you do that in a web design, we call it padding. Now, if you have a box like this that has texts arranged in this way without breathing space in between the text and the border, or the text and the edge of the box, you can give that breathing space by adding padding. So let's do this. Now, if you decide to add a padding of 20 pixels, for example, to that box, what it does is that it increases the size of the box by 20 pixels on all sides. So it pushes the border 20 pixels up, 20 pixels right, 20 pixels bottom, and 20 pixels left. So it gives that all-round breathing space. This is not supposed to be here. Sorry, I forgot to remove that because the border has been pushed to the edge. So doing this, so this is also a CSS property called padding, and you can define how many pixels you want to have. based on what you expect to see on your website. So that's how padding works. Now, should we decide? Yes?
You go over that padding again.
Yeah, padding.
Yeah.
What's the question? Sorry.
If you
Please go over it again.
explanation,
I should go over the padding again. Okay.
Yeah.
So the padding is that, let's erase this. So let's say you have a box, and this time I'm going to look for a website that we can use as an example. Let's use Netflix. No. Let's use Amazon. I like to use Amazon. All right, this is a typical example. Good. Okay, so we have this card. You can all see this card like this. This is a card. We call it card in web design. Okay, but you can see that between this edge of the card and the text, there's a space, right? That space does not just come by magic. It is added by the developer of this particular part of the website. You can see a space between this edge and the edge of this image here. The same way on the left, and between this image and the text, there's a space. That is called padding. So you pad elements to give some breathing space.
Ogalata, sorry,
Yes.
please, sir. I'm not seeing where your navigation is. So can you come again, sir?
Can you see my mouse right now, my cursor?
I can see it now. Yes, sir. Can you?
Okay, so I'm talking about the first card. Prime Day is coming. This card. Let me use the.
So that card, is it like an element?
Yes, yes, it is an element. Let me use.
HTML or CSS?
It's an HTML element. CSS does not have elements. Okay, so
Right.
HTML elements,
Okay.
and has been styled with CSS. So this is a card. Yeah, it's moving. Why is it moving?
The website, scroll the website up, I think.
Okay, so I just want to kind of indicate that thing, but I think the Zoom drawing tool is a mess. It's not a good one. Okay, let me use this freehand drawing. Yes, so this is a card like this. My hand is not straight. Why? Okay, why did it branch? So this is a card. Now this is another item or element inside that card. Okay, or let's be using the word box. Now, between the outer box and the inner box, there are spaces, and you can see that the space is uniform here and here. If you can look at it with your eyes, you see that this space is uniform with this, is the same. The same way, the space here is the same as this. That is padding. Okay, so padding has been defined on the outer element to move the inner element to move it inner a bit to add that breathing space. That's what we're talking about in this one. So this is an original box that has text inside and a border. Now, but because we feel like the text is too close to the edge, it doesn't look good to the eyes. We want to add some padding to give it some breathing space. Okay, then we added padding of 20 pixels. Now, when you define padding like this, you're saying add padding to all the edges. If you only want to add to a particular part of the edges, maybe not all the four sides, maybe you just want to add it to the top and the right. There's a different way to define that. So to define that, remember, it is top, right, bottom, and left. So you're going to do 20 pixel top, 20 pixel right, 0 pixel bottom, 0 pixel left. And you can change this as much as you want. If you want top and bottom, you can define it. If you want just left and right, you can define it. Just make sure that the part you don't want the padding must be set to 0 pixel. Okay, so what we're doing here is that we are adding some breathing space. So we're pushing these borders. Like I said, this border is not supposed to be here, this one, because it has been pushed to the edge. So this edge should be free. Sorry, I forgot to remove that. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're adding that breathing space on all the sides of the box. So the box goes bigger and the original text remains the same, but now it has some breathing space in between the text and the edge of the box. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, if it does make sense, let's continue. I want to be seeing some, although not much faces to see, but let me be looking at the ones I can see. Okay, so now that's for that on setting padding. Yeah, on setting padding. What's going on? All right, this is exactly the way it should look. Like I said, I made a mistake before. So now when you set that inner padding, it pushes this to the edge. Okay. Now let's say we change that padding to, sorry, that's margin. Let's say we want to set what is called margin. We want to set an outer space. So initially padding talks about inner. We set the spaces inside of the box, and then it makes the box go bigger. What if you are okay with the inner space? You just feel like this box is too close to the next one. You want to add some little space between box A and box B. What do? You set what is called margin. So padding is setting an inner space. Margin is setting an outer space. So outside of the specific element you're looking at, you want to give some clearance, some space, a way that makes it look away from the next element on the page. And that's when you set margin. So let's say we set margin of 10 pixels on this element. This is what it looks like. So it's not going to push the border this time, like it did when we were setting padding. Rather, it will only add an arbitrary space that you set, 10 pixels, outside of the element. So any element that was probably sitting down close to this element before will be pushed away by 10 pixels on all sides. If there are elements on all sides, or wherever the element is sitting, it will push it away. Now, what that means is this. I'm going to do a very nasty drawing here. Let's say we have box A and there's box B. Right now, the box looks really, really close to each other. That might not give a good feeling to the user of your website. And you feel like, okay, let me put some gap in between box A and B, at least give them some space in between. What you need to do is to set margin on any of these two boxes. If you set margin on box A will remain where it is. It's not going to move. But box B would move away by the margin you set. So if you set, let's say 10 pixels, it pushes box B away by 10 pixels. And if there's another box C at the top of box A, the moment you set only one 10 pixel, it pushes everything around box A away. So box C goes away by 10 pixels on the top. Does that make sense, guys? Do you understand the difference between padding and margin?
So
Yes, sir. Okay.
for padding,
Mm.
if I understand correctly, it seeks to like provide some sort of internal space and make the site or anything inside like a card or a box element more readable. So it's sort of like what you have inside, instead of the borders being that close to the wording, it puts a space, but it's inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the margin sort of separates the box from, sort of puts some sort of halo over the box that separates it from being too constricted with other things that could be on the page.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alamin, what's your question?
Yes, sir. The same. You explained something in padding that we can actually, if I'm not wrong, is it for the border? Sorry, that we can actually choose how we want the border. We can choose the top should have, let's say, 10 pixel, the bottom the right. Now,
Yes.
if we want to do this margin, is it possible we add margin to, let's say, the right only without having to add anything to the bottom or other parts of the distance? That's what I want to ask.
Yeah, thanks so much. I was waiting for that question. So yeah, that is possible. So there are two ways to do that. Let's say you only want to shift the box on the right, okay? On the right. what you can do is to say margin dash right. And then you set it 20 pixel. So instead of setting margin to be 10 pixel, you are not setting for all the sides. You only want something that you're looking on the right of that box, which is somewhere here, to move away by 20 pixels. You set margin right. The same way you can set margin left. You can set margin top as well as margin bottom.
But if you wanted to just do it in one instance without like having like margin right, margin, you just do it this way where you do 20 pixel, and it does.
So yeah, so that's why I said there are two ways. If you want to set the same, if you want to set for all the sides, but they should have the same margin, same. You don't need to do top, right, bottom, left. You only set one, only one, 10 pixel. It goes and it gets applied to all the sides. Now, let's say you want to set all the 4 sides, but different margin. Okay, then you can use margin. And then you now go top, left, top, right, bottom, left. So you set, let's say on the top, you want 20 pixel. On the right, you want 10 pixel. On the bottom, you want 5 pixel. And on the left, you want 100 pixel. That's when you now define it clearly like this, because you are setting for all the sides, but different margin for all the sides. Okay. Most of these I won't be able to mention in class, but if you ask the question, I would respond. These are the things that you have to read when you're reading up the link I'm going to send to you, because there's a lot of things that you need to read on properties definitions. Another thing you can do, which is allowable, is that sometimes the top and the bottom gets grouped together, and the left and right gets grouped together as well. How? So if you know that your top and bottom, let's say, for example, your top and bottom would have the same margin, and this is applicable to padding as well. And then your left and right are going to have the same margin. So because top, bottom are the same, left, right are the same, you can set 2 values. Just know that whenever you set 2 values, it doesn't go with the rule of top, right, bottom, left. Rather, it goes with the rule of top, vertical and horizontal. So how do you set that? You set that by saying margin will be, let's say, 20 pixel, 30 pixel. Now, when the browser sees this, it reads it as vertical, horizontal. So vertical means top, bottom, 20 pixel. Horizontal, left, right, 30 pixel. Does that make sense, guys?
So this 20 pixel, 30 pixel, nothing separates them, right? Except for like a space.
Yeah, it's just a space.
So if you wanted to do all 4, you do 20, 30, say 10 and 15, and it will do top, right, bottom, left. But if you do only 2, it just
Takes
does
it as vertical, horizontal. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if it makes sense to you guys, so far we've talked about the adding borders. We've talked about how you specify, how you define your border. Let me go back to the slide. We talked about how you define your border, how you can increase the thickness. You can also change the color. It depends on what you define. And when you have something like 30 pixel, you can see that it doesn't increase the size of the box itself. It only pushes the borders inwards. It extends it inwards into the box. Okay.
Does padding increase the size of the box?
Yes, that's what I said. So when you get to padding, it increases the size of the box. And you can see here, when you add padding, it pushes that border or the edge of the box outwards. So it increases the entire size of the box, but the content remains the same because it is padding. The padding is certain spaces for the contents. So it increases the size of the box by whatever you specify, and the content remains the same. So border does not increase size of the box, padding does, and margin does not increase the size of the box as well. Okay, it only adds an external space, external breathing space to the box. So this is for padding. And then when we added margin, you can see margin of 10 pixels. It adds an arbitrary space outside of the box, such that anything close to the box will be pushed away on the side you define. If you define all sides, it pushes everything around the box away by whatever you define. In this case, 10 pixels. If you define only a specific side, then it pushes anything around that box on that side away by whatever you define. So if there are no questions to these three things that we've talked about.
Well, I don't know that is a question. Perhaps I have a particular box I want to be, let's say, in total 50 pixels by 20 pixels. So if I want to use padding now, so that means I would have deducted the padding thickness or the offset, the padding offset before. I don't know whether you know what I'm saying. I want my box to be 50 pixels by 50 pixels.
You want your box to be 50 pixels by 50
everything
pixel.
After the padding, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I must first consider my padding thickness first, or the thickness of my padding. So I'll factor the padding along with the 50 pixels.
So
if I okay, let's say I want 50 pixels, I just put the value of 50 pixels. So by the time I'm putting my padding all around to be 555, so that means 5 on the top, 5 on the whatever, on the back, on the width side, so that become like 60.
Yes, it increases it to 60 by 60. Yeah, now I get to question. So the question Julius is asking is this. Let's say what you want to have, what your website should have is, this switching over every time is bad. Okay. So let's say what you want to have is like a 50 by 50 pixel box. 50 pixel. Okay. And for some reasons, you realize that you need to add some padding to this box inside, maybe because of the content inside, which is too close to the edges, and you want to add some spaces inside. And then you go ahead and add, you set your padding to be 5 pixels. What this does is that it adds 5 year, 5 year, 5 year, and 5 year. It has affected the look of your box. You may not know immediately, but you realize that when you start doing some things and then you start seeing some things going wrong, be like, what happened now? This should be 50 by 50 now, but it has actually become 60 by 60 because the padding you added has increased the size of the box. And when it does, it adds 5 year and 5 year. So this total vertical size of that box becomes 50 plus 5 plus 5. And that's why I said we're going to need some mathematics, basic arithmetics here. So it becomes 60. The same thing happens here. You have added 5 plus 50 plus 5. So it becomes 60. Now your box that you're supposed to have 50 by 50 has become 60 by 60. So yeah, thanks for that question, Julius. Do we understand what that question is and what the answer is, guys? Or is anybody confused with that?
I'm actually confused, sir, and I appreciate if you can go over again, sir.
Good. I want to hear this question so that I can know that we are all on the same page. Okay. So the question is this. As on your website is talking about, let's use Gem's website. Gem is building a website for herself. And on that website, she wants to have different cards display different types of food. Okay? Or soups. This one is Efo, This one is ofe nsala. This one is ogbono. And she defined it to the developer. Hey, developer, I want cards to be displayed on my, when people goes to my web page, I want them to see multiple cards. Each card should have different soup displayed on them. And the developer asks, okay, how do you want this card to, how big do you want this card to be? Oh, I want it not more than 50 pixels, 50 by 50. Okay, so she told the developer, I want this card to be 50 pixels by 50 pixels. All right. Now remember that card is not just going to be there. There's going to be a plate of soup showing inside that card. Right? Now, when the person adds the plate of soup inside the card, the developer now realizes that this plate of soup is too big. Now there's no space between the plate and the edge of the card. The plate has actually taken the entire space in that card. And it looks like, then is not going to like this. What do I do? Let me add some padding so that I can leave some space. And then it just goes and throws in some padding, 5 pixels. So it sets padding on the CSS. Padding, 5 pixels. Now what that does is that it adds 5 pixels here, 5 pixels here, 5 pixels here, 5 pixels here. When Jem looks at the page, it looks nice. That's what she wants. She's looking at a card that has a plate of soup and there's a space around. But one day, when Jem realized that this card is not 50 by 50, because it is not, because the developer has actually added 5 pixels on each side. So adding those 5 pixels has made the card look bigger than what she is expecting. And that has jeopardized the style that she wants to see. Now, you are going to ask me, then how do we resolve that? That's not the topic for today. It's a topic for another day. How to set objects to fit into the box without adding extra padding. So it's not going to be today. But what we are looking at today is that you have to be mindful that each time you are adding padding to an element, you are actually increasing the size of an element. Now, it's not a problem if size is not an issue for you. If there is no definite value for size, it can be as big as it is. I don't care. Then you can go ahead and add it. But if size is a constraint, because at some point you'll be building a website that has a lot of constraints. So if size is one of those constraints, adding padding might jeopardize that constraint. And you have to look for a way to fix that. So, Alamin, do you get that?
Yes, sir. Much more better now.
Thank you. Who else does not understand that so that I can see if I can use Hausa to explain now? Because we may need to move from English to Hausa. So if there's nobody, if everybody understands right now, what margin does. Now, look at this image or 2 images here. And this is going to help us to explain margin. So there are 2 boxes here. These 2 boxes have contents. They already have paddings and they are looking good as expected. But probably at some point they were sitting edge to edge. The edges were touching because there's no space in between them. Now, this is something that you need to take note of again. When you have 2 elements sitting close to each other and you want to separate them, remember that if you set margin on both elements, so let's say the only thing you want to do is to have a 10 pixel spaces in between the 2 elements. You can either set that 10 pixel on either of the 2 elements, not on both of them. So if you set it on one, it gives you that 10 pixel space in between the 2. But if you go ahead and set 10 pixel on object A and also 10 pixel on object B, what you have in between the 2 of them is no more 10 pixel, guys. That is mathematics, right? Because each of them is now pushing away by 10, 10. And then what you have in between them now becomes what?
20.
20. Do we understand this? This is basic arithmetic, right?
Yeah.
I'm right, yeah? So you want to add a 10 pixel space in between the 2. Now, it may not really it may not really have any difference for you. It may look like that's a simple thing. It's not a simple thing, guys. So when you become a developer, you are not going to be the one that determines these spaces. The spaces are determined by the UI UX person. So how do you know? So when they give you the UI files, because they're not going to tell you by mouth like developer put 10 pixels between these 2 boxes. No. So there's a template. There's a prototype of what you are going to build. There's a prototype of the website that they have designed, like an architectural drawing. In that prototype, you are going to be checking what space did this person use in between the 2 boxes. Oh, it is 10. then you go ahead and set 10. You cannot change it. If you change it, they will know because they have to validate whatever you build. So the process of software development is that from design to development to QA to UAT. QA is quality assurance. Quality assurance is the UI person, which is the architect in this case, or let's call him the architect, which is not the real architect in software, but let's call him architect for the purpose of explanation, would take your code and check the UI if it matches what he has designed. If it doesn't, if he's expecting to see 10 pixels between these two boxes, but mistakenly you set 10 on both boxes, and then this becomes 20, he will take it back like, hey guy, this is 20 pixels. Look at the UI, it is 10. And that is because you mistakenly, if you want to set margin on both boxes and you are looking for 10, what do you do, guys?
Make it 5-5.
Thank you. You make it 5-5. It's as simple as that. Although the margin specifies 10, but because you want to make sure you set on both boxes, set 5-5. Because at the end of the day, 5 plus 5 will give you what? 10.
Question.
Go ahead.
So looking at what we have on the screen, if we just say margin 10 pixels, it sort of creates a margin not just between box A and box B. Does it put the margin all around? Like say if you had a box at the bottom of box A, you would also separate that by 10.
Yes. So that's why I put this broken line around. It sets that space around the box, both the vertical, the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. So setting margin 10 pixels. And remember, you are only targeting one of these two elements. So don't mind that I wrote it once. So it's not like when you set one, it applies to both of them. Oh, no, this margin would have been set on one of these two. Let's say when you're writing your CSS, this box, the class name is called box A. And the class name for this is called box B. And you go into box A and define margin 10 pixels. It will only apply to this. But the moment you go into box B again and set margin again, 10 pixels, then it goes to this one as well. And then the difference between the distance between two of them now becomes 20. And every other thing that goes around here, there's another box on the top before too. It pushes it away by 10 as well. There's another box on the left, it pushes. Another here, it pushes. Yeah, so it pushes around the box.
Okay, so in this case, if you only wanted to push on the left side of this guy and on the right side of right side of box A and left side of box B,
Yeah.
only thing you have to specify like the margin
for the left.
For left.
So you specify margin left on box A property, margin dash left, and then you define that 10 pixels, whatever you want. And then for this one, for box B, you go into the CSS, you define margin right or whatever margin you want to set. Margin right, and you define whatever you want to put there. Make sense?
Yes. What does margin, because I was just looking at the page that we were supposed to inspect before. That had margin block start, margin block end, margin inline. That the one you gave us an assignment on. The
assignment one, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying margin these ones?
Those margins. I'm just like,
okay. So this one, again, if you look at where those codes come from, it comes from the system. It's a system generated style. It wasn't set by somebody who built this site, right? So the ones that come from the CSS file, you will see the source. So the source of each of them will be put on the top right. This one comes from index.css probably, this ones, but this one came from user agent style sheet. So this is a system generated style. Like I said, there is always a default style that comes with every element. Whatever you write, just override. Is that grammar correct? Override, overrode, whatever.
Right. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's. I was wondering. I'm like, what does that mean?
Oh yeah, that's not somebody who defined it. It's part of the system generated styles. Yeah. Any other question, guys? Are we enjoying this class? Is this class making any sense? I'm afraid again that this class is looking like some people will not start thinking, yeah, this is
yeah, we're following. So I am following. Sir.
Okay.
If I would like to like say
practicalize it.
You say you open VS Code and do this, like make the box and
I will
then
do. I will do. I've told you guys that one of my recent this thing is I'll do some coding. When I explain, I'll do some live coding before you jump into exercise. Yeah. So don't worry. I'll show you everything for this. Yeah. We will show you. Okay. Any other question? Huh? Okay.
New from this side.
All right.
What
If
is your-
Jordan said you will be coming late.
okay, sure.
Okay, so not really. You most times follow the guide and design of the UI UX person. Oh yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, and I'm just checking through the charts. Oh boy, so many details. One we have to take. So you are not taking note of all these things yourself. Trust me. It comes with the UI UX file. So you don't build sites from off your brain, off your head, how a site will look like. It's not your problem. It is the problem of the owner and the UI UX person. So the process is that the owner sits with the UI UX person. That's the traditional method. Currently, it is not the traditional method. So we have somebody else who comes in, and that's called the BA, the business analyst. So the business analyst sits with the owner, with the business owner. Like Jem is the business owner. She owns the restaurant. She wants to build a website for her business. A BA, Julius, who is going to be the BA, would go and meet Jem. They will sit and talk. Jem will tell her everything, tell him everything she wants on that website. While she's saying that, Julius, who is the business analyst, is getting those informations in form of requirements and is putting them down. Even while he's putting them down, he's doing some rough sketch and showing to them, you mean this? Something like that? Or Julius will go into an existing website and show them, what about this? Do you think this should be here? Do you want something like this on your website? And he's documenting them. When Julius is done, he goes back into the office, sit down, and prepare some BA documents, like process flow, how the flow should be. That's the job of the BA. What's the flow? When the user goes to the website, they click on login. When they log in, it takes them to this page. So Julius is going to detail those things. That's somebody else's job, and that's what they get paid for. They draw out all these process flows, what is included, what is not included, and the expectation of the owner. Then they take that, once they are done, they pass it to the owner for validation. The owner then will look at it. Yes, this is what I want. Oh, no. This part, change it. Why can't you just put this? Then Julius goes back again and adjusts that. You can see the process flow. Then it takes whatever, once Jem agrees and signs off, because she must sign off. She signs off that, yes, this meets my expectation. Then Julius takes that to the UI UX person. Now, there's a place for the project manager. We're not going to talk about that. He takes that to the UI UX person. The UI UX person asks questions from Julius. Okay, you mean this one, okay. Then he sits down and draw it out using Figma and every other software that they use. So when the UI UX person draws it out, yes.
Sorry. So all this you are saying now, that is if somebody is not coming as a full stack developer, like someone like you now, just a full stack and do everything together.
We've not even gotten to developer. We've not even gotten to developer. Developer has nothing to do with all this process. Whether you are full stack or half stack, you are not even there yet. Okay. The job is still between the business people. These are business people right now.
Okay.
So once the UI UX grabs those information, it will build it out in UI UX formats. That means UI is user interface and user experience. So the user interface part is they will draw everything out page by page. Every page the users are going to see on the website or on the mobile app, they must draw it out. The UI UX must draw it out, how they should look, where there's button, where there's no button. When they finish doing that, they will now do the UX part. The UX part is what experience do you want the users to have? Do you want them to log in and go and log in on top and log out at the bottom? Because it's a crazy experience. You must give them a perfect experience throughout their stay on the web page. So they do that too. Once they are done, they go back and get validation again. Okay, I'm done with my UI UX. The BA will look at it, compare with his requirement, it matches. Once they sign off, then they pass it to you, the developer. So you can see that most of the work has been lifted for you. You don't have to think about what a button should look like. You only do it the way they want it to look. If they change it, it's a change request. It's not your fault. They want to change it, then you can change it for them. But whatever they give to you is what you are going to now use code to bring out. Because without code, that can never come to reality. So you code it exactly the way they want it to look. And as you are coding it, if they are using agile approach, as you are coding each section, they are validating it. So there are two methods of building a software. You can use agile or waterfall. Waterfall is that you build everything and then they will go and check. If there's a problem, they will send it back. Agile is each stage that you build, they check. Each stage you build, they check. As you check, if there's any correction you make before you move to the next one, yeah? So that's how software process is like. So Jaido, don't be scared. You don't have to keep all these details in your head. You only need to follow the guidelines given to you by the UI UX designer. All right. Hoping that is clear. Let's move on.
It's clear.
It's okay. So we are going to move on. Now, how do you visualize this thing in the browser? All these things that we've talked about, the padding, the border, and the margin. How do you even see them? How do they work? Before we go to code it, let's see them in the browser again. So I will go back to this website that I used before, this one. And in this website, we want to see how this looks like. You can see on the inspector, you can see that this thing shows up here. Now, it shows that for every element, and you can see when I hover on this center, at this center, it highlights the home. Let me do that again, because that was the last element I previewed. If I move to something else, or let's say the button, you can see that when I hover on this, it goes to another thing. Let me toggle again, toggle. I don't want to click, I just want to preview this particular one. But it will toggle if I click it. Anyway, let me use any text, just text. So this one, when I hover on this, you can see it's changing based on the last section that I touched. Now, you can actually adjust things here and see how they look. And that's what I'm going to do. So let's look at home, for example. So home. So this is home. Right now, home has nothing. There is no margin, there is no padding, there's no border, and there is no padding. Now we can try to set them here and see how it looks. Okay. So I'm going to do this. So I can do this temporarily. Like I said before, it's going to be temporary. If I add 20 padding, and let's say I also add border of 20 pixel and margin of, let's say, 50 pixel. That's on the top. Now, let's say I add margin again on the right, 50. And bottom.
Your border is not there.
Sorry?
Border didn't stay.
Yeah, I know why it doesn't stay, because it's a text. I'll see if we can add border. If not, it's not actually a box, it's a text. But now, see, when I added margin, 50, 50, 50, 50, you can see that the about that was actually close and was somewhere around here before has been moved away, because that's the element that we have close to this home. If you did not see that, I can increase this to 100 and then you will see. You see, it shifted further. So this is like you're saying, hey, whatever is on the right, move it away by 100 pixels. And it actually did happen. The same thing happened on top, but because there's nothing close to that home on the top, you can see that, you see that highlighted part. I don't have two mouse. I wanted to keep it and then move to that side, but it's going to leave. Okay. But you can see that highlighted part. It shows that there are some spaces on the left, on the right, and partly on top. So that's what it means by setting those things. That's how they look in the real sense. Now, when I tried to add border, it wasn't showing probably because this is not a box. If it were to be a box, you will see. So I will try that on the code, on the VS Code, then you will see border and all that, how they look in the real sense. But yeah, I just want to do this for you to see how this affects your view. Okay. Now let's go to VS Code. Let me try and create something and we'll see from there. So I'm going to take out these three things here. Let's say I have a div, and we're going to talk about div later. Don't worry right now. Just know that there's something called a div. And in that div, let me just add an inline. Okay, let me give it a class. and call it sample. Okay, now I can style that div because I use a class sample. I'll just call sample here. Because it's a class, I'm going to have to use a dot. Remember, when you're using a class. So let's say I give it a width of, let's say, 100 pixel. And a height of 100 pixel. And then I give it a background color of blue. So we have a box. Let me not use this blue. This blue is too dark. Let me use gray.
But can you click it somewhere inside the that color box that it brought to change the shade?
Inside here?
You know when you put your cursor on
The color box,
Oh yeah.
Spectrum.
Yes, you can. You can go here and move things around, and then it changes color. You can see.
Nice.
You can go here and move it down again. You can even move these ones as you want. It keeps changing. Yes, possible. But I only want gray. So let me make it gray. Named color, gray. Is gray okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So I've styled this box. So I have a div. And like I said, don't worry about div. We'll get to what a div is very soon. And I give it a class name of sample. So I styled that sample div and I gave it a width of 100 pixel. So the width is 100 pixel. I gave it a height of 100 pixel. The height is 100 pixel. And I gave it a background color of gray. Okay, now let's start adding things that we just learned. Let's add because I'm going to have to do padding as well.
Text inside.
I'm going to add something very light. I need a very light color so that I can add text. Thank you. Okay, so this is the box. Now let's add text inside of that div. So let's go here. I need to add a paragraph and then call it, let me just do some lorem ipsum of 50. It's too much. Let's do lorem ipsum of 10.
5 or what?
I just wanted to occupy the stuff.
5,
4
or 8.
4. Oh, so 8. Yeah, 8. Thank you.
Yep.
9. Come on, lorem 9. Okay. So we have a text inside our box. Okay, guys. Now you can see that it's not looking really good because the text are so close to the edges, right? We want it to have.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
Let me say this. We want the text to breathe. Okay, go ahead.
With this div function that you added now is in the body, but our box that we created, it is up. So how is the code able to deduce that this text that we're adding should go inside that body itself, inside that box? Is
that correct?
No.
You're not correct.
Are you correcting? Okay, don't worry. Let me correct.
Our standard now.
Alamin, the div.
Yes, sir.
The div is in the body. What you said we have in the top, this one is only the CSS.
Okay.
And it's referencing this class equals sample.
Sample, no problem. I'll send that now.
Sample is what we are styling because whatever we put on sample affects this div.
I now understand. Yes. No, the stuff was down before. Like I was just seeing that code from the width and all. You just extended the whole thing up. Now that's why.
Okay. All right. So we have this box and we have this text inside. Now let's start with the border. How do we add border? Guys, please, I want you to catch this. Okay. So this is what we have not been doing before. Before I've always thrown you into the lion's den. But now I'm going to the lion's den with you guys so that we can kill the lion together. So now I'm going to be doing the code. Okay, so let's say we want to add border to this box, this particular box here. How do you define that? Still on the sample. Whatever you are defining must go into the CSS.
Those your blue markings. Liner.
And
Sorry.
this blue thing.
Thank you.
I think they are gone now. All right. So yeah, so we want to add a border around that box. And remember, it's still going to be part of the CSS for sample. So you're not going to create a different CSS for that. So let's go. So you call the property called border. And remember I said there are three things you're going to set on the border. First, the size or the thickness, the style of that border, and the color. So let's start with the thickness. Let's call it 10 pixels. What's the next thing? The style, solid. The last thing is the color. We can use named color. Let's use black. Where is the border?
Refresh.
No, now. It should show automatically. Oh, it's not the same. Wait, what's this? Show preview. Are you mad?
So we start the size, the style, and the color.
Sorry, what did you say?
For the border, you said we put the size, which would be in the pixels.
Mm-hmm. The
Solid.
style, solid border, and then the color black. So you can see how this looks, guys. So it's to define border, this is all you have to do. Border, the thickness, the style, and the color. So if I change this from 2 pixels to 5, you can see it goes bigger. And remember I told you it is not going to increase the size of that element. Okay? It will only push the border inside. The size remains 100 pixels. Okay? All right. If I change this to 10, you can see it keeps pushing, it keeps squishing the text. It's compressing the text inside.
Suffocating it, not letting it breathe.
God bless you. It's suffocating the text. It's not letting the text breathe. Thank you. So it's going bigger, but it's not increasing the size of the original box. That is border. Now, because it has suffocated the text, you now feel like I need to add some breathing space. I mean, let the poor text breathe.
Breathe.
Yeah. So let the poor text breathe. What you do is to set a padding. And let's just set padding of 20 pixels all around. So it's define it only once. What do you see happen here? It increased the size of the box. If you did not see that happen, it's okay. I'll show you. Open your eye. Wear your glasses.
You need to because when you put the 20 pixels, the distance between the top up to lorem ipsum and expeditor to the bottom.
It has always been like that. I don't know why it pushes, even without the padding. The box is not there.
Is that something you need to like
I think it was when I added this. Let me remove, let's see. Let's fix that. So it was when I added the border that this happened. So the border suffocated the text. The text now realized that that space cannot take me. Let me move down. That's when it moved down.
So this stars that you keep putting, how do you do that?
Yeah, I told you that the last class. So you place your cursor in front of the text that you want to comment out. We call it commenting it out. So you comment it out. You on your Mac, when you put your cursor in front of the text, you hold down the command and press /. And the same way you're going to remove it. If you want to bring it back, put it in front again, hold down your command and press /. On Windows, instead of command, use Control. So Control /.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can see that before we added the padding, look at how small the box is, okay? Now, we wanted to make the text breathe. Then we added padding. You can see that it goes bigger. So always remember that the moment you add padding, I'm saying it again, it is going to increase the size of your elements. So if you are constrained by size, know that padding may not be the best solution for you. Okay, so that's padding. Now, let's say we don't want this border to be 10 pixels all around. Okay, we want it to, in fact, we don't want border on the top. It's very simple. Just say border top. You can see VS Code is suggesting to me, border top. Okay, make it 0 pixel. It's gone. Border top is gone. We can actually remove border bottom too. Just define again, border bottom. In fact, we can reduce that. Maybe we don't want to, we just want to reduce it to 2 pixels. It's too small compared to 10. So let's use 5. Solid blue. You see? So we define a different border for the bottom. And you can keep defining like that until you achieve what you want. So we define border, which sets border all around. Then we define border bottom to, as we want it, to be blue, 5 pixels. Then border top to be 0, so no border on top. So you can play around with this as you want, as much as it's aligned with what you are trying to achieve. Okay?
So yes. Do you always have to start with like a general border and then start to zero them out?
No. So if I take out general border, it only gives you what was defined. So right now we have, oh, sorry, that's not what I took out. So you can see I took out the general border. It only gives us the border bottom, which is blue. And you can see this looks like, it looks beautiful somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, it's looking nice.
You can add, it can actually be left. It doesn't have to be, because you see some cards that look like that. It's just that they define the border left. And you can see this is looking like something meaningful, even though we're just playing around, yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah. So you can define any border side you want without going through the entire border. This is just because we are explaining border and how it works. And the padding, we define padding to be 20 pixels all around the box. Okay. Now we can actually define padding differently, like we explained. We can have it as 20 pixels instead of one all side. We can have 20 pixels for the top. We can have 50 pixels for the right. And we can have, now because I did only 2, I haven't added the remaining 2. Look at what happened. It took the 20 pixel as vertical and it took the 50 as horizontal. That's why you can see that the space here is the same as the space here. Although this one, we already had issues with it before, but bear with me. Okay. Now, the moment I add the other ones, let's say we now have 70 pixel for the bottom. You can see the bottom grows bigger. Let's say we now have 100 pixel for the left. Look at that. So it took the 4 and arranged it on its own. 20, 50, 70, 100. That's how padding works. Nobody's Shamilatewo. Thank you. Okay. So now, that is how padding and border works. Who has a question before I move to margin?
Can you try doing a box on the side? Well, sorry.
That's margin. That's margin. So that's what I want. I just want to know if anybody asks questions on this before we move to margin.
This is looking nice.
Any questions, guys? CSS is making sense now, right? Yeah. It's really making sense now. Don't worry. You don't have to cram all these things. It is something that comes. Don't think because I am doing it right now. It's because I've done it 1 million times before. That's why I can remember what to set. For you, you are always going to check and do it. And then when you do it over and over and over, it becomes part of you. Okay. So if there's no question on padding, let's move to margin. Now, how do we do margin? We need to have another box to be able to really do margin. Let's do another box on the side. I don't want, you can do it on the bottom. It doesn't matter. I don't want to start going into flexing because it's going to give us issues. But if you guys would not mind, I can put them side by side. But you are not going to look at whatever I used to put them side by side because we're not there yet. So, but let's leave it top and bottom. So right now we have 2 boxes that are not breathing. Both of them are squishing into one another. In fact, it is hard to know that there are 2 boxes here, except the fact that they have different contents. Okay. So
sorry, how did you get the second box?
I just copied them. I just did another copy of the first box. That's all. But I'm going to call this
the box on the right.
Eh?
What if you wanted the box on the right?
That's what I said I don't want to do now. Why do you want me to do it?
I just
I can do it, but I just feel like it's going to confuse some people. So if I want to put them on the right, on side by side, I'll put them in another div. Because we have not done div. Div should be our next thing. That's why I don't want to do this right now. But yeah, I'll call it class container. And I'll style container to be display inline block. No, inline block did not work. Let's do inline. Okay, so let's give it flex display. So we flex it. I flex them to side by side. Okay, inline flex. Don't worry about setting display right now because we haven't got that. So, and don't worry about putting them in another div right now. You shouldn't be concerned about that. Yes, so let's call the second box sample 2. And the moment I put sample 2, it removed the style because we haven't styled sample 2. So let's copy sample 2. I mean sample 1 and make it give the same thing to sample 2. So we have 2 boxes, sample and sample 2. They have the same style right now. Now they are actually joined together, but the owner said she wants 2 boxes separated and having different picture of soup. Now we have built our website. The boxes are joined together or the cards are joined together. We need to separate them. We need to give them some gap, breathing space. And that's where margin comes in. So like I was saying, let's say when you inspected your UI UX or when you spoke to because it's not always going to be standard that there is a BA, there is a UI UX, there is a clinical. See, if you are working for a one-man business, somebody just wanted to help them build a website. There's no UI UX. So you are the UI UX, you are the BA, you are the Bubwe, you are the developer. You will do everything. You will think how the website should look. So learn it now. So let's say you're just talking to the owner, somebody who has a restaurant in your streets, and they feel like they know that you are now a developer, and they approach you. Hey guy, can you build me a website for my business? I can pay you $50,000 or I can pay you $5,000. I don't have plenty of money. You're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. What do you want? How do you want it? And they gave you the requirements, and you now build, and you now realize that your cards are squishy. They are close together, but you need to add some space. That's where margin comes in. So we can either add margin on sample or sample 2, either of the two. Let's say we need margin of 10 pixels. You can go on sample, which is the first card, and add margin, and then add 10 pixels. Now look at what happened here. Can somebody tell me what happened here? Because the 2 cards are not aligning again. Even though we achieved that space, they are out of alignment. Why?
Because when it put the margin, it sort of put it on top, which shifted the box down.
Yeah, it put it on all sides.
Specified
it. The margin was added on to all sides, and then it moved the box as it should. Okay, now it fell out of alignment. But what we really want to do was add space in between the 2 boxes. So that way, in that case, we don't need to add margin 10 pixels. We only need to add margin rights. Do you see that, guys? So margin rights is 10 pixels. So we only added margin rights to the first box, and it pushes the second box away by 10 pixels. Now go back to what I was explaining about before, about mistakes. So if you mistakenly add the same margin right, no, not margin right now. Let's say you add margin left on this one, on the second one. So margin left. So you added 10 on both of them. Then this space becomes what? 20 pixels. And that's not what the owner wants. They only want 10 pixels in between. So you need to remove one of them, either the one on right or the one for the left. And then you can achieve your 10 pixel spaces in between the 2. If we have another box below the first box, in other words, if we do have like this, and I don't know if this is going to work, maybe I will need to wrap them and I'm going to have to write another code. No, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that because I'm going to have to write another CSS to kind of wrap them. And that will confuse you guys. Don't worry. What I wanted to explain is that if there's another box at the bottom here, it's not going to shift because you have only set margin right. So it only affects the right side. Whatever you have at the bottom does not shift. It's still going to get attached to this. until you set margin bottom before that one is going to shift. Did that make sense? Is there any question, guys? Ask me questions on border, padding, and margin. I know some people here in this class have read further. They've read this before. I know them. They know themselves. But if you have not covered this before, just ask questions now. Don't be quiet because others are quiet and you're feeling like, why is it going to be only me that is asking questions? Don't bother. Some people have done this on their own. I know them.
Have done this on their own.
Well, they know themselves.
Let's huddle them now. You have to do food disclosure.
Well, you can put the chat on the Slack so that they will respond that yes, I have done it before. I don't want to expose them. Okay, confex, please.
So that we can be knowing.
Well, Julius have done this.
He has done like a class before, or like
no, he's reading ahead of the class. So he has done this. I've seen he posted something on Slack yesterday or 2 days ago. And it's something like this, more advanced than this, but yeah, he has done something like flexing the card. What?
I don't need to see all these things. So where on Slack?
Because you guys don't have Slack on your phone. So it's on Slack on the. Did you send it to me directly, Julius?
Probably did.
Yeah. No.
Oh, it was DM. Sorry, I'll post the link for you
I
guys.
can forward it to.
Put it on general channel. Let them see. Put the link on general channel. Yes. So any questions on this, guys? Is this clear enough? Are we doing better right now that I'm coding it after explaining?
Yes, please.
I didn't want to do this before. I want you guys to be figuring it out. Yeah?
Yeah, you asked the question and I said yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, one more thing on inspecting. So this is just another explanation for how this padding, margin, and all that works. You can see there's padding top, there's border top, there's margin top. You can also set border top. We didn't talk about border top actually. We only talked about border. Oh yeah, we did. Border top, border bottom, and all that. Border left. Yes, we did. Thank you. So you can also, so that's actually an explanation of how these things work. Margin left, margin right, margin this, bottom, margin bottom, and all that. You can see where they are and the width and height of the container itself before we add all those things, before we add the border, the padding inside, and the margin outside. And this is what you see when you inspect them on the browser. Now, there's something else before we go into content division. Abiodun is here now. Okay, Abiodun, you are welcome. You would get the initial part of the class on the video recording. Before I jump into div element, which is called content division element that you have seen me use now, I want to show you guys something that I want you to install as a plugin to your Chrome browser. It helps with the inspections better, even better than just looking at them in here. That thing, it's called pesticide. And you guys can actually open your browser and type pesticide. You will see pesticide for Chrome. I want you to go to that pesticide for Chrome. And because I already added it to my Chrome, it's telling me if I want to remove. In your own case, because you have not added it before, you will see something like add to Chrome. And I want you to click on that button and add it to Chrome, because this is going to help us with the next section that we want to talk about, the div. So guys, take 1 minute to search for pesticide and click on pesticide for Chrome and add it to Chrome. Let me know, guys, if you're done with that, with a show of hand. There's something we need to do to, in fact, let me remove. Yeah, me know. Okay.
Yes, we are still waiting. No.
Oh, you have your hands up, yeah? Ask question.
No, we should show of hands now if you are done. So.
Okay, yeah. I just want to be sure that I want to know when everybody has done doing it. So if you are not done it, I just want to do it for you guys to see. You see add to Chrome. You click on add to Chrome, add extension. Depends on the OS you're using. but make sure you add it like that. Now, once you add that, you need to go now on any page. So go back to the one of the website that we were inspecting before. If you go there, no, sorry. So you can stay on that page where you install the pesticide. On your Chrome browser, there is something that looks like a puzzle card here. Can you all see my mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you click that thing, that's your extension shortcut. If you click that thing, it will open something like this. Now you need to look for pesticides. Sometimes you need to go and add it manually. Sometimes it gets added itself, but most times you may have to look for it in the bottom or wherever it is and click on it to add it to the list of your plugins. Or maybe you need to click on the 3 dots here, and then you see something that shows like maybe add to extension or something like that. You know, it's English. I'm not sure what you're going to see actually, but what you're trying to do is to add this to the extension itself. Can anybody find this in the drop down pesticide for Chrome?
Yeah.
Did it get added for you?
Yeah.
Did you click on
It's
it?
not showing. It's not showing any new option to add. So I feel
It's
So
added
click on it.
automatically.
Can you click on it?
I've clicked on it. Nothing happened.
Okay, nothing happened, right? Okay, probably
That
it has
is my
added.
own automatically.
Okay, let's
If
assume.
it's not showing, it will give you option to remove. It gives you option to remove. That means
Yeah, if you right click on it, thank you. If you click on the dots, sorry, the 3 dots, it will tell you if it shows options to remove, then you know that it has been added.
Okay, it shows remove from Chrome.
Okay, that means that let's assume it's added. We will know when we want to use it, whether it's added or not. So everybody should do that. Add pesticide to your Chrome browser. Now, what does pesticide? Yeah, I do. Go on. See your. Oh, sorry. You raised hand that you've done it. So you can lower your hands, guys. Lower your hands. So what pesticide does for us is that, just like the name pesticide, it kills our pests. So when you have issues in your code, we call it bugs. How do you remove those bugs? You use pesticide. You spray them pesticide. So the bug you have in your code, you're going to be using this thing, not actually to remove it, but to see them, to preview them, to see where they are hiding. And then you can go and remove them from your code. That's what this pesticide does. Why do we need this? Because we are going to start talking about div right now. And divs are invincible. You don't see them really. You remember when I did a div before? You were only able to see this div because I added a background color. And then I added text. And then I added border. If I did not add any of these, you would never see anything. Let's give it a try. Let's remove all these styles from, in fact, let's leave the width and height, but we'll remove every other thing. What did I not comment on? It's showing an error. What's missing here? Opening expected. Oh yeah. You see, it is gone. If I remove the text inside, if there's no text inside, you are never going to see anything. So divs are invincible. You don't see them. They are arbitrary. They are arbitrarily there on every object where you use them, or every element where you use a div. Now, if there is no reason for you to set a background color, if there's no reason for you to set something that will make it visible, how do you now see it? How do you know what is wrong with the div?
Why are they used in the first place? Sorry.
Okay, so that's where we'll start from. So why they are used is that although every element that you write in your web page, they have their size, okay? They are actually contained in a box. Everything that gets rendered on a website, they are contained in a box. Whether it's an H1, whether it's an H2, whether it's a P tag, anything, name it, they are actually contained in a box. But the box is not visible to the eyes. Now, even though they are all contained in a box, there are times you want to do some things. You want to add your own box to be able to define something on that box, just like what I was doing here. That's when you need a div. So it is called the content division element. So content division element is an element that helps you to divide content on your page. An example, this is Amazon website. Okay, each of these cards are divs. They are divs because it helps you to separate what goes in card A from what goes into card B. It helps you separate what goes into card B from what goes into card C. And overall, there is a bigger div that contains all of these cards. All of them are put in another div, which is like a container, to now help you to arrange these cards how you want them to be. Remember, when I was doing this, and I needed to add another card to make them go side by side, what did I do? I added another div, and I threw the two of them, or I threw the two of them into that one div, because it helps me to now arrange them. How do I want them to sit? Is it close to one another side by side, or top and bottom? Well, I cannot do that arbitrarily without throwing them into another container. So let's use a typical example. You want to arrange your clothes. You folded your clothes and you want to arrange them. You cannot arrange them in space. You need to arrange them inside a box, like a container or travel bag or whatever it is. Because when you now have a box that has a shape, you'll be able to arrange those. You can now stack those clothes or put them side by side or whatever. I don't know if that's a good example or not. My brain is not, but yeah.
No, you use a puzzle, this puzzle box. You know, it has small boxes.
Yes.
The whole puzzle box, the main square, and the small boxes inside the puzzle. I mean, you use jigsaw, they call that. You know that. We used to arrange
that box, that puzzle that we arranged when we were very small, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to move things around and arrange a tiger or arrange a lion.
Yeah.
It's contained within a bigger box, right? You know, and that helps you to arrange, to move things around. Thank you. That's a good one. It helps you to move things around within the confines of that bigger space. That's how the div works. So it helps you to separate items. It helps you to arrange things on your page. If you want to, the way you want to arrange them, you need a div to be able to achieve that. I'm short of words because my English is not too good, but I would have, if I can find something better to illustrate this, I would try, but that's the best I can do. I'm sorry. Yeah. But then take it like that for me from now, that you use divs to separate content, to arrange content, but they are invisible. Now, because they are invisible, how do you make them visible? How do you see them? How do you know what is wrong with it if you have an issue with it? And that's why we downloaded that pesticide. We'll see how we use the pesticide in a short while. So the div, how do you indicate a div? It is by, they are actually tags. You do your normal opening and closing, and now you're going to write a div. That's the way it is used. And when you have a div, let's say you have a content thrown in a div and another content thrown in a div. This red line, you are not going to see it. They are invisible, but they are there because they separate these two contents for you. They may actually be joining because you didn't have any space, but the truth is that those two boxes or those two divs are separate. So the only way you can separate content, not the only way. One of the ways in which you can separate and arrange your content is by putting them in a div. Okay? If you have two elements and they are sitting close to one another and you want to push them away, or you want to add a third element, you would rather put them in a box first and then arrange them in that box, which is a div, and then you can do whatever you want to do to them. We'll try another one. Of course, you've seen me use it here and how it works. We're going to try another one again and then see. So let me undo all my changes first. Yeah. So that's how it works. The red line, you don't really see. I just put that there to show that there is actually a boundary for each of the div, which are not visible to the eyes, but they are there. Now, let's take an example. Let's say you have something like this, a website that has these two contents. There is a globe and there's another type that shows the night, the globe at night. So there's an hello world one and there's a good night one. Now, these two, or if you have put them, because they are actually put in a div content, you can see there's a div here, and inside the first div, we have the P, which is the hello world, and we have the image, which is the globe. We have another div, which is good night world here, and then we have the image, which is the night aspect. Now, the way these two are right now is that there is an arbitrary boundary that was set around them. but these boundaries you are not going to see. Now, if you did not put them in a div, let's say you didn't put them in you just added the first hello world and the image, then you added the second hello world and the image. Trust me, everything is going to just be on the same straight line. But because you throw them in a div, it knows that, okay, these two contents, the hello world and the image, they belong to the same family. So you put them in a div. The second part, the good night world and the image, they belong to another same family. So that's why you put them in a div. So the browser reads that and know that, okay, I need to group this into two because they are put into two different divs. That's how this works. Now, let me show you on this website. What's the name of that? Okay, I think I had it here. Hopefully I find it. Box model. Did it come?
About this before you go, before
Yes,
you move
right.
on into it.
Yes.
You use one shortcut the other time. When you were pressing the Lorem income, you just put the line, I mean the font size. How does that work? It's like a magic.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I did when I wanted to add so if sometimes when you are building your website and you just don't want to think about content writing, you just want to have a content to kind of see something else. Like we are not really interested in what gets written inside here. We just want to write something there. That's when Lorem ipsum comes in. Now, you don't know, you cannot be writing jargons by yourself. The shortcut I did was, so let's say you want to write Lorem ipsum inside this P. It must inside the paragraph tag. It must either be a paragraph, an H tag, or anything that takes text. So you type Lorem, you type the number of characters or number of words you want in that Lorem. Let's say we want 50 words. Once you write without space, Lorem 50, and then you tab out. So you press your tab on your keyboard, it gives you 50 jargons, 50 words, jargon words.
All right.
Okay? Just to test something out. We only use it for testing anyway, if the content is not important. Yeah, so you can see it gives us 50 words that doesn't make any sense. It's Latin. Lorem ipsum is Latin, actually. It makes sense in Latin, but we don't know what it means. Whatever.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so that's what I did there. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So we have these websites. The one I was using to explain here. And as you can see, there is no observable or visible boundary between the first part and the second part. But the browser already knows that there is a boundary. The browser knows that hello world and good night world belongs to different groups. Now, how do you see that? That's where we need our pesticide. So if I go to inspect, and I want you guys to do the same, I'm going to send you this website, on the general channel. Wait, how many of us are in this class right now? I need to do a roll call. I'm seeing Jem, I'm seeing Julius. Alamin.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling once. I'm not going to call anybody twice. Jaido.
Oh.
Ariomo.
Yes, sir.
Majid.
Yes, sir.
Wolf. Abiodun.
Yes, sir.
Bob.
Yes, sir.
All right. Wolf is not in the class. Okay, let's carry on. So now, how do we use this pesticide? Thanks, guys. How do we use this pesticide? I sent you the link to the website right now. Can you guys open that website and you will see something like this? A thumbs up or show of hand if you are here already, just to know that you are here.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. So if you are here, you are going to go in here. So around here, so let me show you again. On this line where you have the tabs like elements, console, sources, network, performance, or whatever you see there, towards the end of it, you see these three dots. If you click on that, you would see something like more tools. I want you to put your mouse on more tools, and then you will open another list of items here. Then you would see CSS overview. So if you click on CSS,
Can you come again, sir?
all right, I would. I'll close that again. Open it. So you go to this list where you have elements, console, sources, network, performance. There is a 3 dots icon here. If you click on that icon, you will see some other items here, and then you see more tools among them, more tools. If you hover your mouse on more tools, you would see another list of items, and one of them is CSS overview. So if you click on CSS overview, it would open a different part here. And then you can, sorry, why I was too fast. You need to click on capture.
My own does not have more tools, so I don't know what.
Hey,
Of the
Igbo made new laptop, bro.
Koyemio.
Okay, maybe you are clicking on the wrong one. So there are multiple ones here. There's one on top in your for the browser itself. The one we are looking for is the one that goes in line here. Element, console, sources.
I think that's what I click.
So when you click it, what do you see here? Do you see
I see
drawer?
I can see dock to the bottom, dock to right, dock to left, separate window, show split console, settings.
That's all.
That's what I see.
Okay, click on settings. Are you using Google Chrome right now?
I think not, sir. I think it's Mozilla that opened.
Can you give yourself a knock on the head?
No, now I click. Let me give myself the knock, but I click on the link, so it directed me to my Mozilla.
Mozilla. Okay. Don't worry. You don't have to knock yourself.
Set default browser as Mozilla, no?
Please, you need to set your default browser to Chrome, and everybody should do that too. If you are not done that, if you use another browser, set your default to Chrome, because I know that doesn't sound like it's Chrome. Okay. So please open it in Chrome with Chrome, and then you find your more tools, and you can go to CSS overview.
Yes, I can find it.
Okay.
Overview.
So if you are on CSS overview, you will see what I'm seeing right now, and you can click on capture overview.
Capture overview.
Wow. So this is like, it's a program built by a very small boy who is still in, I think he was in the second year in university learning programming, and he built this plugin, and that's the truth. Why did he do it? He found it hard to inspect websites, and he feels like, man, things should be easier than this. So he built this thing to crawl every Chrome browser. It crawls your web page or the existing web page and counts the number of elements on that page. Look at the colors, itemize them, like it's just doing like an audit of a website. So you can see that it shows how many elements on this page, how many media queries, external style sheet. If there's an external style sheet, what else do you have there? The colors, background.
How can this one page have 13 elements?
Yes, because in the background, the div element also have some inner element that was built into it, which you cannot see, because you didn't build the div element. It was built, it was given to us to use, right? But the div has a lot of other things inside of it that we cannot see with the eyes. So this might not be the exact thing you are seeing, but that's what is on the page, based on what this crawler has done for you. There's a media query that queries something. There are colors, background color, all of that, text color. You can see text color is black. Fill color, there's no fill color. Font info, font size is 16 pixels, 12 occurrences. Font weight is 400 and all that. Okay, now those are not where we are going to right now. Where we are going to is that we want to see the divs. So now, how do we see the divs? When you move your mouse, if you click on this arrow and you hover on these things, you will see that there is a separate color that you see. It captions the hello world and the globe together, and something comes up at the bottom. It shows div 580 by 182.5 color, the color type, the font 16 pixel, Times New Roman, that's the font type and all that. So this helps you to kind of see the div in your browser because you cannot see them physically, naturally, you cannot see them. Now, because you have that thing installed, if you close this inspection and then you do Command I, if I remember, now I cannot remember, Control. Wait to God no go shame us. I forgot the shortcut. There's a shortcut to use.
It's what they call Wahala alert.
It's Command I.
Yeah.
Okay.
For inspect that. Is it for inspect?
No, not for inspect. I want to see this thing. It shows, it kind of elevates each of them. When I hover on the first div, it will elevate the div for me.
Okay.
I'll search for that. Let's leave that right now. So what we're looking for is that how do you determine those divs? Because they are not visible to the eyes. It is by inspection. So when you hover your mouse on it, you can see that these two are grouped together. That shows you that this is a separate div on your page. And this is another separate div on your page. So the more you use the div, the better the clarity comes in. But right now, basically, you know that for you to group some things together, to arrange them and do some other stuff, you are going to need a div. Just like what I did here when I was trying to build these two cards and to show the padding and all that. I had to put each of the cards as a div. And apart from that, I put the two of them in a div, another div, which is this, and call it a container. So because I have a container now, it helped me to be able to arrange them horizontally. Because if I don't have any div here, it will be hard to kind of arrange them and style them. I mean, arrange them together. You can see that my styling arrangement goes on the container element. And that's when I said display inline flex. So I didn't put the display inline flex on the cards themselves. I had to put that on the container, which is the div that I want.
So sorry, question.
Mhm.
But when we're inspecting, I don't know if I was on another page doing an inspection. What I noticed was even on this one that you have like div says container, and then it has this 580 by Boulevard things. Don't know
This one, on this one, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but not like that.
I don't get that
check out
question.
an RCC website.
What's the question? What's the question? Yeah.
Where it has like a div and then it has some other things. Which page was I inspecting? I don't even know now. Please carry on.
Okay, if you
Like,
find it again,
are
just
there
flag me.
specifications?
I think that should be the inspection, the classwork that you gave the details of the body and co. Is that
This
what you're
one?
referring? Yeah,
This
the
one?
classwork, yeah, this. The divs, I think, okay, no div.
They don't have divs.
It has this everything here is in a div called
Okay.
quiz. The div is called quiz here in styling, and then for each of them there's a separate div. So there's a div answer, and there is a div question. So each of them have div question and div answer. You can see that. You can see how it shows up. So div class equals answer, div class equals question. But there's an overall div which houses every other thing, and it's called div quiz. This one. So the quiz div.
Also has a closing tag.
Eh?
So it has a closing div.
It does. It does. This is the closing div.
Oh.
So this is the opening and this is the closing. And for every other one, they have their opening and closing. Opening, closing, opening, closing, like that. But the closing for this quiz is here at the bottom. Because it's containing every other div.
Div inside.
Inside, exactly. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Using words like illustrate, but you don't know English. Okay. Of course,
question.
If I can speak good English like you, Jem, maybe I'll find a better way to explain this. That's what I was talking about.
No, but if you're already using Illustrate, your English is quite class 5.
Okay.
Level 5. Which other level do you want to speak alien level English?
Okay, just manage it for me like that.
Yes, please. It's great. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Any question, guys? Any questions? No questions. Now you can guess what's next, guys. What's going to be next?
Password, I been a problem.
Okay. If there are no questions, you all are going to go into your downloaded folder, wherever you have kept it. Look for lesson 7 docs, and we're going to look for 6.3 CSS Box Model. CSS Box Model.
The thing is, I hope nobody will teach us 1 + 1 and be asking us 1 - 1 divided by 2 + 7 times 64.
Sorry, like a class
Okay.
rep needs to have muting powers.
Please, I'm going to give you admin power to mute people.
Other maths is what you are getting. For after
We already said this, that you will teach
you want to
maths,
threaten teacher.
who teach maths and give further maths. We agree on this from day one. So you don't have to complain. Okay?
Don't cry, don't beg.
At all. We'll teach maths and give further maths. Sorry if that hurts. I don't mean to
No
hurt you.
problem.
I don't mean
We'll
to hurt
survive.
you. All right.
That's what we've been doing now. We can see teacher, but we can't threaten teacher. So take it. Fine.
Okay, so we're going to look for 6.3 CSS Box Model.
So
And
on
that's,
our VS Code, I'm guessing.
huh?
We're going to VS Code it, right?
Yeah, we're doing exercise now. So go to your VS Code, open CSS 6.3 CSS Box Model. And this is what we want to achieve.
Okay, sir.
So I already have some list of items I want you guys to cover, but just to explain, this is what I want you guys to have to achieve at the end of the day. You can see that we have a first box that has a padding. You can see padding inside. There's a text inside, lorem ipsum. I already gave you the details of the lorem ipsum. Let me see. Yes, this is the lorem. I already put them here. Just copy it and put in the box yourself. And it has some padding, which is stated there, 20 pixel padding. It's also in the question. It also has a border. The properties of that border is in the question. Now there's another box. You can see that this box is not on the same row with this other one, with the green one. The yellow box is not on the same row with the green one. Rather, it's below the green one, but not directly below. It is actually an offset. So I want you guys to make sure that the edge of this yellow box is touching the edge of this green box. Okay? And this one has its own property as well. There's a yellow background. It must touch corner to corner. There's a 20 pixel border. There's a 10 pixel border, 20 pixel border on the top, 10 pixel border on the left and right, 20 on the top and bottom. There's a third box, which is here. This third box is not as big as the first one. And I think it's not as big as the second one, or it's bigger than the second one, whatever it is. It has border itself. It's kissing the second box on this side. But it did not start where this one started. So you can see that they are not on the same line. It moves away a little bit from this. Lobaton, this is just the simple 3 boxes I want you guys to do. Only the first one has content. The other ones don't have content, and they have sizes. Every information is on the question. So question 1 says create 3 boxes using div element. Just start like this so that you don't get it wrong, okay? Start with the instructions like that. Go from 1 to the last one. Create 3 boxes first, 3 div elements first. The next question says set their sizes to 200 pixel high by 200 pixel wide. Do that. You can right now, what kind of style, CSS style you want, CSS addition you want to use depends on you. If you want to use internal, go ahead. If you want to use inline, do it. If you want to use external, do it. What I'm interested in right now is seeing you achieve this in the end. So decide on how you want to write your CSS. I don't really care. set the first div to have 20 pixel padding and all that. So these are simple instructions and they are English words. It's not going to take you too much time because I know you guys are smart and intelligent and you are going to get this right the first try. That's why I'm going to give you 15 minutes to try this and you all are going to do well. I believe in you.
So
Let's get started.
Sorry, a quick question.
Go
I
ahead.
know one of the codes we were inspecting, we saw somewhere that says index.css. Is that like, after using index.html, is that a thing that people do and say and call the style sheet index?
Yes, you can actually do that. You can do index.css. It's not going to be common in your code because you're going to have lots of CSS files. So you will be having the name of the file.css. Maybe you have admin.html, you will have admin.css. Maybe you have contact.html, you will definitely have contact.css because it gives more meaning to know what those CSS files are doing. Which file are they attached to, right? So that's how this works. Okay. Did I answer that question?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. So my people, you can can we take break first? Can we take a 5 minutes break?
Never even take break. It's already 2:11.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Late,
let's take a break so that people don't rush into this exercise. Calm down, take water, okay? Short break, 5 minutes. Drink water. Focus here. Focus here, everybody. Let's solve this together. Stop what you're doing. Okay. So I'm going to start now. Okay. Let's start, guys. So I'm going to be using inline and internal style because there's already a style heading tag, which I'm going to be writing my CSS. And Magellan, really? Yeah, I'm going to start like this with the first question. Guys, please focus. Let's do it together. Create 3 boxes. So I'm going to do the 3 divs. There's something else I can do, right? I can create 3 divs at the same time without having to write it separately. Shortcut again, shortcut if you are interested. Shortcut, it's not compulsory, only if you are interested. So I'll do div times 3. Did you see that? Div times 3. So it creates 3 divs for me. I've solved the first question, right? Now, I'm going to give them class. I'm going to give them class names just to be able to differentiate them. So the class first would be the color. I'll call it green. The second one will be class yellow. And the third one is going to be, I know some people are still struggling with this. They're not listening, but don't worry. I will not answer any question after I'm done. Bob, your boxes are not kissing each other. Okay?
Yeah, I can see.
And I'll call the third one class orange. So the same way I am going to define the classes, I'm not going to answer a question after this, so after solving this, because you guys are not concentrating.
We see any face. Can you accuse us of not concentrating?
I'm trying to get attention. I'm an attention seeker. So second one is yellow, and the third one is orange. So I have these 3 things here. Now the second question says set their sizes to 200 pixels height by 200 pixels wide. So I'm going to set sizes. Height 200 pixels, and I'm going to set width to 200 pixels. So I'll copy that for the 3 of them, since they are all having the same sizes initially. And I'll set different background colors for each of the boxes. I use coded blue, gold, and Indian red. So let's set background color. The first one will be coded blue, BCG, coded blue. The second one would be gold. So this one, BCG, gold. And the third one, Indian red. So let's set the third one, BCG, Indian red. So we have 3 boxes now, guys. 3 boxes. 3 boxes. So let's move to the next question. It's gelling small. Set different background colors. We've done that. Add a paragraph, P element, into the first div.
Please, can you do it slow so that you're going to pass?
Are you trying to impersonate a lady? What are you doing?
slow down. Let's slow down.
Are you a scammer?
Thank you. Sorry, I think you are not. You don't bring you back.
Don't bring me back. Oh. Okay, I'll quickly go back.
Let's go back to slow.
So I created 3 divs. I gave them their classes. Okay, classes because that's how I want to style them so that I can reference them in the CSS code. So 3 divs with the classes green, yellow, orange. Now the question says for the first questions I've created the divs. Second question says set their sizes to 200 by 200. So I set sizes for them: the height and the width, the height and the width, the height and the width, 200 pixels each. The next question says set the different background colors for each: faded blue, gold, and Indian red. And that's what I did. The first one I set as faded blue, background color property. The second one, background color property of gold. And the third one, background color property of Indian red. That's where we are. So to the next question, add a paragraph element, which is a P element, into the first div and add the following words. So I'm going to copy the words, which we need to add in the paragraph. I copy the words, and then they say we should add it inside the first element. So I'll open the first element up. I'll add a P tag, which is a paragraph, and I will put the text in there. So this is what they want us to do for the first one. All right? Are we okay to this point? Yes. Okay. Let's continue. Now, the next question says, set the first div to have 20 pixel padding all around with a black 10 pixel border. So 2 things you're doing together here. The first is to set a padding 20 pixel all around, and then set 10 pixel black border. Okay, so let's do that. 2 things. So that's the first one, right? Did you say the first one? Yeah, first.
Yes,
div.
sir.
Okay, so the first div, we're going to set padding first. All around is 20 pixel. So the padding is set. And then they said we should set a border. Border, what did they say we should set for the border? They said we should set
10 pixel, I guess.
10 pixel border, black. So 10 pixel, solid, and black. Okay, that's the first part. That's that part. Okay, so we've done this. Now the next thing says, all right. So the next thing says
6.
Number 7.
Number 6. 6.
Number 6.
Fix the style of the P element to remove all margins. P element to remove all margins. And there's a reason for that, because there's an extra space up top here. So they want us to remove all margins. So let's remove all margins from the P. What is the P? The P is here. We can actually target it directly. We don't have to add a class. So we can just target a P. That any P you find on this page, set all margins to be 0. Does that make sense, guys? 0 pixel.
Yes.
You can see now that there's no extra space on the top again. Everything now looks plumb, according to the street language. Plumb. So it's plumbing now, right? So that's what that removing margin does for us. It removes the extra space that we don't need from that text. Okay, let's continue. We've plumbed that now. So we've done this. Hint, use CSS Inspector in Chrome. Well, we don't need to use CSS Inspector, or if you have a problem with it, you can use CSS Inspector, because right now it's working for us. Set the second div to have a 20 pixel border on top and bottom, and 10 pixel border left and right. Okay, so top and bottom, 20, 10, left and right. So second one is the yellow one. So we're going to set border top is what did you say we said?
20 pixel, 20.
Solid. Did they give us color? No. So we're going to use that. Border top, 20 pixel. Okay.
So you
border
can't use
bottom.
Border and just specify 2010, 2010, like to do that clockwise thing.
So you mean to do border? Let's try it out. So border, we do 20 pixel, we do 10 pixel, and then we do solid black. Did it work?
No.
It did not.
I thought the request was border on top and bottom.
Yes, that's what we're going to do. I just needed to do that for general question. So we did top 20 pixel. We're going to do the same thing for bottom. So you have to set them separately. They are not going to go together. So we have top and bottom for that. And they said for left and right, we should set 10 pixel. So border left, 10 pixel, solid, black. Same thing with the right, border right. Okay, that is that. Flag me down if you have any question. So we set the second div to have that border as instructed. The next one is set the third div to have a 10 pixel border.
But Ogalatas,
Yes.
the instruction did not say black, solid black.
Okay, so you can have another color then. So if you read another color, I'm not going to mark it wrong. It's right then, since there's no color. Okay, are we good?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you use blue or red or whatever, it is border. Okay, we just want to see the thickness of that border. So no judgment for this for the color. All right, let's do the next one. The next one says set the third div to have a 10 pixel border. So the third div is just a 10 pixel border. So we're going to have border 10 pixel solid, and we're going to use black again. Again, if you use another color, that's fine. All right, so we have all the borders and everything in place. Now let's go to the next question. Set the margins for the divs so that each corner touches the other. That's the goal. That's the real goal. I'm sure that's where people's teeth is trying to remove. So let's do this together. So now, we said we should do it to look like the goal. Where is the goal? This is the goal. So first, we need to push this yellow box to touch and kiss this one at the edge. What do you do? Like I was explaining, what we need to do is that first, you want to push it to touch, to kiss this one just here. What it means is you need to push this box all the way to that point. And how do you know what length to push? It is going to be the exact length of the first box. Logics, guys, logics. You want to move this to here. You don't know the distance from here to there, but you know the distance, the width of this, or I mean, the width of this box, and that's the distance that you're looking for that you don't know. So you just set that distance as margin for this. So let's try that. Let's try that out. So you go here and you set margin left because that's the left side. You want to push the margin. Margin left is going to be the width of the box, 200 pixel. But remember, we added a padding. Okay. So what was the padding that we added? 20 pixel on one side, 20 pixel on the other side, making 40. When you add 40 to 200, it becomes what? 240. Okay. So what is
our 10 for the border?
Our 10 for the
border.
Are you sure?
Border now.
Into
sure?
Yeah, we do.
that's 20.
Yes.
Yeah, border, the border.
So 20. So we need to add that 20.
60.
260.
Sorry, 260. My math is not even.
Not Martin.
It's not Martin. Thank you. So that's it. That's how to push it to the end. You just need to do some plus and minus, like I said. Add one or two things together to achieve where you are going to. And that is it. We've pushed that. Let's push the next one. Sorry, Bob, you almost got it. Is except that border. So
yeah, I didn't do my calculation right.
Yeah.
Same here.
Okay.
Move.
So let's do the third one. The third one says we need to push that to kiss as well, but the only distance we need is from here to there. So what's going to be that distance to move? So we need to add margin left as well. What's that distance, guys?
That's
60, so is it 60 or 40?
The distance is going to be the difference between the width, total width of this box
40.
and the total width of this box. And that's going to be the 40, the border, the extra border that was added before.
Will it be margin left or margin right?
Margin left, because you are pushing it, you are creating a space in the left, not on the right. You are pushing it towards right. So the space must be on the left. If you are pushing it towards left, the space will be on the right. Right? Make sense? Any question, guys? We are done with the solution, with the exercise.
This exercise gave me a headache.
It's good. It's good to give headache sometimes. You know, you already told us from the beginning that today is not your day. But don't worry. Everything we said. Everything we said. Any question, guys? If there is no question, okay, thank you. If there is no question, please try and adjust your code based on what we did, because right now the class has been over since. I just want to make sure I get to the assignment. We've pushed this class.
I did something earlier, right? I did something where I put also in a bit to do shortcut for since all the divs had the same size to start with the 200 pixels, I sort of put all the 3 into like another div and put a class on that big container and put it with that size. But I don't know why it didn't work.
Well, there must be a reason. Anyways, now you have the solution and it works.
My head is not in the right place today.
Okay, guys, finally, as we are leaving, I want to give you this gift to go. Everybody, take this gift from me. I'm sorry it's a very small gift, but please manage it. I can do better next time. The gift is this motivational meme website. You all are going to create something like this, and I'm going to explain. So your website, you are going to do a lot of Googling. Trust me. I want you to Google to get things done. For example, how to centralize this box on the page, because this box must be centered. You can see that the distance from here to here is the same as distance from here to here. So you don't do your own and let this thing all be on one side of the page. It's not going to pass. Everything must be centered. So that's part of the things you will have to Google. 2 is that you're going to have an image. This image, it doesn't have to be this. Your image would go in line with your motivation. So you're going to write some motivation. You can Google any motivational topic you like. My own motivational topic is that special moment. And the information about that topic is when you find the perfect avocado at the supermarket. Okay? This is not going to be your own motivation. You're going to have to write your own motivation, the topic in caps and H1. And then you're going to write what is it about that motivational statement. Now you can see this lady is holding an avocado. Okay, so in your own, if you can find an image, I'm going to give you a website right now where all of you can search for any type of image for free without getting fined for anything or without you paying for anything. It is called unsplash.com. They have good images that you can download, different sizes, different orientations, whether you want a landscape or whatever. I'm going to post that on the general channel or the resource channel, learning resources channel. That's where I put the link to Unsplash. So you can download any of these images. If you want to download any of the images, just click on that image and then go here. If you want to download a particular size or just original size, you can download any of them. And then you can use that in your code. So look on that place, search for an image that matches your motivation. So for example, if my motivation is about avocado, for example, I'll just search avocado and I can grab any image that looks like avocado here. So whatever you're looking for can be found here. Just search for it, okay? When you get that, you're going to use that image on your page. And now if you look at this critically, there's a border. There's a border on this image. There's a white border, right? And there's a space between the image box and the text, and there's a space between the text header and the information about the quotes. So what do we want to deduce here? I want you guys to learn how to center a div. So how to center this thing, how to place an image. Make sure another thing you're going to Google is how to make this image fill the space that you have provided in your div. So I don't know how you're going to do that. There are so many ways to do that. You can either just put a border around your image or create a div, put an image inside that div, add border to the div, and then make sure the image fills up the div. How you're going to do that? Google. This is the best way to learn coding, by Googling your way around. We all do that. And finally, the background must be black. So you can see the background is pure black. I want that black because it helps your image to kind of show very well with the white border. And the text here would be white or cream, something in the region of white, not total white, could be cream or dirty white, whatever. Now, these assignments can be found here. Let's look for it. It can be found, let's open a new window. Open folder. Where is desktop? I'm looking up for my own file. You can locate your own file as well. Lesson 7 and motivational. There's lesson 7 docs. There's something called 6.4 motivational meme projects. So this is a project, not actually an assignment. It's one of your projects that you're doing in this learning. And this is the index.html file. I already have the instructions here that you are going to follow. I gave you a link where you need to Google. So if you want to search for anything, you can look at them on developer.mozilla.org, this link, or you can do your normal Google search yourself. For the fonts, you can grab this font that I wanted from Google Font here. I already added the link to Google Font for you. And I have a CSS file, style.css. You can have all your CSS here because we want it to be external, not internal this time, external file. And you can link your file, your CSS in your HTML code like we have always done. And finally, this is the goal that I just showed you. So we're going to have a pure black background, and that if you follow the instructions clearly. And that comes to the end of today's class. Guys, do yourself good by sleeping well, wake up in the morning, take coffee, and write code. Why? Because coffee helps to write better code. Yeah.
But I have work at 7 a.m.
Yes, take coffee in the morning.
I write code at 7 when.
Okay.
Before they work 7 a.m.
But you don't work on Friday, right?
No.
Now do it on Friday morning. Wake up, take coffee. Don't brush your mouth. Don't bath. Just take coffee. Hot coffee. Hot coffee. Take coffee. Black one. Black. No cream, no sugar. You will churn out good code. So guys, here we draw the curtain. And you guys have yourself a very wonderful week ahead of you. And enjoy. No question. I'm not entertaining any question because right now I'm out. Peace.
This is really true.
How was your trip now to Saskatchewan? What do you call that place?
Fort
Saskatchewan. Yeah.
Think?
Fort Saskatchewan. The rain was really terrible. I drove in the rain that day. It rained when I was going. It rained when I was coming. Like it was a terrible road trip. I was speeding 160. That is speed. But yeah, it was cool. Okay, guys.
Okay, you get life insurance.
What?
You get life insurance, eh?
No.
The recording, sir.
You should get one.
Why?
Agalatas, the recording.
Recording.
Psalm 160. You get the life insurance.
I don't need it.